Everybody, my name is Kirsten Green. I'm the Executive Director of Retired Racehorse Project, and I'm here with Kristin Werner, who is with the Jockey Club, and she runs the Jockey Club Thoroughbred Incentive Program, which is commonly known as T.I.P. And we have had the pleasure of doing more and more with Kristin and her program, and that includes expanding this year to host a portion of their T.I.P championships. So I know there's a lot of questions about how can I do the Thoroughbred Makeover and do T.I.P championships? How do I enter? Like, what's the timeline? All of that sort of thing. So we're here to kind of do an overview and a rundown of all of those types of questions. We have a rough agenda set out, and we're going to just kind of run through everything, and we'll take questions from the crowd at the end. We are live both on Facebook and on Zoom. So if you have questions on Facebook, you can just write them in the comments of the video. If you're on Zoom, if you could use the Q&A feature to send questions that way. And without further ado, Kristin's just gonna we're gonna start from the very basics and give you a primer and explain the differences between our two programs and why they're like peanut butter and chocolate or peanut butter and jelly or what have you. So ahead, Kristin.
A great analogy. So I guess we'll start with eligibility. It's kind of very basic. And I will talk about T.I.P, and because I think if a horse is eligible for T.I.P, they're eligible for the makeover. So we'll start broad and then narrow down. So T.I.P championships is open to qualified and declared thoroughbreds. And for purposes of all of T.I.P's programs, a thoroughbred is any horse that is registered with the Jockey Club or a foreign thoroughbred stud book recognized by the Jockey Club. Unregistered horses are not eligible for the Thoroughbred Incentive Program, but unraced but registered horses are. So they just have to be registered, don't have to have raced, don't have to have had a workout, just need to be registered with the Jockey Club. And then an additional requirement is that all thoroughbreds have to have what we call a T.I.P number, which is just a very easy number to get that you go onto our website, which is tjctip.com. I will say that a lot today. So any of you guys that have access to a computer, if you want to follow along when I talk about web links, you can go to the website now. And those are essentially just a number that allows us to connect the horse's registered name with their show name and riders' names and owners' names, and it makes it very easy for purposes of reporting results. So I'll kick it back to Kirsten about makeover eligibility.
Yeah, so what's great about T.I.P is it complements, the Thoroughbred Makeover is designed to serve a very specific population of thoroughbred in a very specific stage in their lives. And so we are obviously focused on horses that are immediately exiting the racing industry and progressing on into their next career. So our eligibility always is horses must have had a race or published work on or after July 1 of the year, 2 years prior to the makeover. So horses this year will have their last race or published work in July of 2020, and that progresses each year. But so a horse is only going to be eligible to do the makeover in a very specific time period. But as you've just heard, the eligibility for participating in T.I.P, whether it's in the T.I.P classes that are within horse shows all over the country or T.I.P championships, that's obviously a lot broader. And what's nice about it is participating in T.I.P is a really good prep for the Thoroughbred Makeover, and it's a really good progression after the Thoroughbred Makeover. And I think Kristin can tell you a little bit more. T.I.P is not limited to just classes at horse shows. She has programs for recreational riding and ways of recognizing horses that are competing in open competition as well. So it's just good progression and back and forth between our two programs, even if the Thoroughbred Makeover is a little bit more limited in the population that we're serving. Okay.
Kristin, add on to what she said about our other programs on the website. If you go to the Thoroughbred Owners and Riders tab, there's all kinds of information about our year-end awards, which are called the Performance Awards, our recreational riding program, which is essentially an hours in the saddle type of program. We also have some programs targeted for young riders, And then you can also on that same website find the calendar of events of shows that have TIP awards. We've got about 1,500 this year. And so you can navigate to the calendar and do a search by state or discipline or the kind of award you're looking for to try and find a show near you.
So we're here today to talk a little bit more specifically about TIP championships, and just to add some clarity, because there are more than one TIP championships. And so the Makeover has the honor of hosting essentially a portion of what Kristin has to offer. So Kristin, if you can hit on the options that are out there and how people can qualify for them.
Sure. So just for ease of distinguishing between the two shows, I'm going to call them Aiken and Kentucky. Aiken is our TIP championships at Stable View. It's in Aiken, South Carolina. That prize list is actually now available on the website for anyone who is interested in attending that show. The disciplines offered there are hunters, jumpers, English pleasure, a combined test, and dressage. In order to qualify for that show, you have to show your horse at a show offering TIP awards beginning August 1st, 2021 through August 31st of 2022. And the 2021 TIP championships would be included as a qualifying show there. The other option is to participate in a Take Two division during that same time period. Take Two is a program for hunters and jumpers hosted by USEF rated shows and sponsored by the Take Two Thoroughbred program, which is based out of New York. They have lots of hunter jumper shows all around the country, so we also will accept those as qualifying shows. The next option would be to have participated in the 2021 Mega Makeover or be entered in the 2022 Thoroughbred Makeover, have participated in the 2021 TIP Performance Awards, or be accepted through what we call a hardship request, which I will cover in more detail after we talk about the other show. All of the qualifying does have to be in the discipline that you're wanting to show. And so you can't qualify for combined tests by doing hunters. You would have to do a combined test or a hardship request if you wanted to do that. We do accept, for purposes of English pleasure, your hunter under saddle classes. Those can be used to qualify for English pleasure. You can use your dressage test or your show jumping phase from a combined test or an eventing test to qualify for either jumpers or dressage. So one of those two would work. The second show is what we're calling Kentucky, and that is the TIP championships in conjunction with the RRP Thoroughbred Makeover. And at that show, we have dressage and Western dressage, and then a variety of what we're calling the Western divisions. So that would be competitive trail, ranch riding, Western pleasure, a Western halter championships, and barrel racing. And I forgot to mention in Aiken, we will do an English halter championships. Sorry about that. To qualify for the Kentucky championships, again, you have to participate at a show with TIP awards. The qualifying period for that one is a little bit shorter because of the entry time for that show. So it's August 1st, 2021 through August 15th of 2022. And again, qualifying shows would include 2021 TIP championships. The other option would be to be entered in the Thoroughbred Makeover or have participated in the 2021 Makeover, have participated in the 2021 TIP Performance Awards, or be accepted through a hardship request. Just a couple notes on both of the qualifying. Virtual or online shows do not count for qualification. All horses that participate at the event can also participate in either the Western Halter Championships in Kentucky or the Hunter Halter Championships, which are going to be in Aiken. That does not require an additional qualification. You don't have to have shown your horse in hand, and those halter classes are actually just included with your division entry. So it's kind of like a bonus class that we offer. I think the only other thing I'll mention is that we do get some questions about eventing, and we offer eventing championship awards every year through the American Eventing Championships. And those qualifications and entries are all done through the United States Eventing Association. And then we just offer some special awards for the top placing thoroughbreds in each of the divisions. So I would point you to that if you are an eventer and you're interested in championships, other than the combined test, obviously.
Okay. All right, so do we want to get into some of the specifics about the Kentucky Championship? Timeline, fees, all that.
I will say one other thing I forgot to mention. I have gotten this question a couple of times. Can you participate in both Aiken and Kentucky? And the answer is yes, you can, as long as your horse is qualified for both. And the other question I've gotten is, do you have to participate in your region? So for example, if you do dressage and you live in the central part of the country, do you have to do the central? And the answer is no. If you want to go to Aiken, you can go to Aiken. If you live in South Carolina, but you'd rather go to Kentucky, you can do that too. The central and east designations that we've put on those were just to distinguish between the two different championship shows. So as far as kind of dates and those sorts of things, I'm just going to talk about Kentucky. If you all have questions about Aiken, as I said, the prize list is now available on the website under the championships tab. All of the information with deadlines for that show are available on that page. So if you're interested in that show, I would encourage you just to navigate over to the website and take a look. As I mentioned before, qualifying horse show period for the Kentucky Championships is August 1st, 2021 through August 15th of 2022. The declaration closing date is also August 15th, 2022. The hardship request closing date is July 31st, 2022. And what a hardship request is if you don't live near any shows with T.I.P awards, you didn't participate in the performance awards, but you still would like to participate at T.I.P championships. If your horse has been shown at least twice during the year in the discipline that you want to participate in, you can file what we call a hardship request. And it just requires you to fill out a form and then include a brief paragraph explaining why you couldn't get to a show with T.I.P awards. And then you attach your horse's show record, showing that the horse has been shown at least twice during the championship year in the discipline you're applying for. So if you wanted to show in Western Pleasure, for example, you would need to attach a show record showing that your horse has been shown twice in Western Pleasure since August 1st of last year. If you wanted to do barrel racing, you would have to attach your barrel racing record showing at least 2 timed runs that were scored for barrel racing. Attach that to your hardship request, and then it has to be sent in by July 31st. It is called a hardship request. It's not really that hard as long as your horse has been shown twice during the calendar year. For the most part, those will be approved. The ones that we will not approve are horses that have not been shown in the last year and you want to bring them to championships. Generally, those will not be approved. We need horses that have been shown during the championship year participating at championships. Entries for the Kentucky Championships, it's a pretty tight window, so make sure you mark your calendars. They will open August 1st and they will close August 15th. And that is the same entry deadline as the Thoroughbred Makeover. That's why we're going with those dates to keep everything consistent. We will not be able to accept late entries. So get your entries in during that time period. As far as fees for the Kentucky Championships, each horse can enter up to 2 championship divisions. A division would be considered, for example, barrel racing is one division, Western Pleasure might be another division. You can enter up to 2 at each show. So you could enter 2 in Aiken and 2 in Kentucky if you wanted to. It's $200 per horse for the first division, $100 per horse for an additional division. If barrel racing is entered, that will be considered your first division for purposes of the entry fees, because for barrel racing, we do have payback. I would note for anybody who has a horse that they want to cross enter from Makeover into T.I.P championships, you do have to pay all entry fees for T.I.P championships, just like you had to pay for the Makeover. There's no discounts and you don't automatically get entered into T.I.P championships if your horse is entered into the Makeover. There's also a stall fee, flat fee of $200 per stall. If you don't want a stall, you're just shipping in, that's a $40 fee and will be assessed on any horses that don't have stalls. Format is another question I think we might get. Barrel racing will be exactly the same as it was last year. 2 go rounds in an average in a 4D format. The 1D will be set by the fastest time. 2D is ½ second slower than the fastest time. 3D is 1 second slower and 4D is 2 seconds slower. The division average will be calculated to have the overall division awards. And what we're going to do there is contestant with fastest combined time from both go rounds is going to win the average. And then again, it's 4D. We've got the seconds split out there. 2D average is 1 second after fastest combined time. 3D is 2 seconds after fastest combined time. And 4D is 4 seconds after fastest combined time. Dressage and Western dressage, each division will be 2 tests. There will be 6 divisions. We will split them if there's enough entries. But currently they are intro training first, and then combined 2nd through 4th, combined FEI, and combined Western. Western Pleasure will be a 5-class division. There will be 2 of those. One is junior, one is senior. Ranch riding is 1 division made up of 4 classes. We have obstacle course, competitive trail, each of those in hand and mounted. The division is going to be 2 courses. And then again, as I mentioned, we have Western Halter Championships at the Kentucky show. Your first entry division includes 1 entry into a halter class, and each horse is only shown in 1 halter class. How to enter barrel racing entries, as well as all stalls, will be done through the RRP Makeover portal. All the other division entries will be done online in a separate portal. So if you're going to do get a stall, you'll go through RRP. If you're going to do barrel racing, also through the RRP portal. And then the other divisions we will make available in online entries, and we'll have that website available once entries go live. I'm going to kick it back for a second to talk about the stalls. And then maybe you can also talk about the other makeover stuff that's going on while we're there.
So RRP is taking care of the booking of stalls because we have a good infrastructure in place for doing that in the first place. And if you've never done stall assignments for a show, particularly one this large, trying to honor requests from 2 separate shows in the same barns is enough to make you want to pull your hair out. So logistically, it makes sense for us to handle all of the stall assignments, especially because there's a good high likelihood that there's going to be crossover, whether it's you're coming for the makeover and you're putting your other horse on the trailer, you're going to do both, and or like you're coming to do the makeover and your friend's coming to do TIP championships and you want to be together, like all that sort of thing. It just makes sense for us to route through the Thoroughbred Makeover portal for that sort of thing. The reason why barrels is run through our portal is because they are run out of all of the events taking place throughout this week at the horse park. The barrel racing for our 2 events is fully integrated and runs 100% concurrently. So, and that is the only event where horses are truly allowed to cross enter. Horses that are entered in barrel racing in the Thoroughbred Makeover, their run time counts for their TIP championship run time. And that's the only division that we're offering that. But please do not confuse that with being automatically entered. You do still need to do the entry process with TIP if you want to do the cross enter between the makeover and TIP championships. Everything else, if you have a Thoroughbred Makeover horse coming for this year and you also want to stay and do TIP championships, you can do that as well. You're automatically eligible, as Kristin mentioned, but TIP championship horses are not eligible to compete in the makeover. That's, you know, as we mentioned before, a very specific population that we're serving. So it's going to be a good thoroughbred loving week at the horse park. We will start moving people in on that Monday, which Lord help me, I just cannot commit to memory. Like
October 10th.
October 10th. So we'll start accepting move-ins on October 10th. Your stall fee is flat rate for the week, whether you stay for one night or all nights. You can start moving in on the 10th and you must move out by the morning of the Sunday, the 16th. As far as the rough schedule for the week, the barrel racers are going to be competing on Wednesday and Thursday, again, because they're fully integrated with the makeover schedule. And then TIP will take over several of our competition venues on Friday and Saturday to run their classes. many of you know, if you're familiar with the Thoroughbred Makeover format, our finale competition runs on Saturday. This year, there is no cost to attend the finale, so please, by all means, come in between your classes as you have time and hang out and watch our finale. We'll have the trade show operating all week, so that's no cost, open access in the covered arena. Friday is an educational day for us. We have the Makeover Masterclass in the morning and demos and seminars running that day. And we will also have our awards dinner on Friday evening, which T.I.P competitors are welcome to attend. There is a fee to attend that, and we'll have more information about that a little bit later in the summer. So that's roughly what the schedule looks like at the moment. With the way Kristin has her classes structured, it's roughly so that you can do one portion on one day and one portion the next, but exact details of that are dependent on what entry numbers look like, and we'll be able to have a much firmer schedule later in the summer.
Yep.
I think that covers. Yeah.
I think you covered most of the notes that I had about schedule. And like you said, depending on entries, we will make some decisions on schedules and publish that once entries are closed. The good thing is that will be probably towards the end of August that will be done, since we will have entries pretty early. So.
Okay. Generally speaking, if you have any questions, both of our websites are full of very detailed information by way of our rule book, her prize list. If you would have any questions about the Thoroughbred Makeover or anything related to your barrel racing entry or your stall assignments, we're happy to help field that for you. You can email secretary@tbmakeover.org or go through Kristin, and one of us will make sure you get the information that you need. And Kristin's website, like she said, is tjctip.com. So that is where you can follow up for more information. And I think at this point, we can wade in and see if we've got any questions to cover.
And I would just mention, as I said, the Aiken prize list is available. The Kentucky one is in the final stages and should be available soon. So if you've got specific questions about class descriptions or things like that, I'd ask you to be patient for a little bit longer, because all of that will be available very soon.
All right, so we're hitting right out the gate with burning questions. Will the Western divisions always be combined with the Thoroughbred Makeover versus being combined with English like it was in 2019? I think she's referring to when you guys were still coupled with the New Vocations show. So Kristin, go first.
Yeah, so as she said, this will be the first year we've done anything other than barrels with RRP. We did formally run T.I.P championships with New Vocations. However, we actually did not have Western divisions there other than Western Pleasure. This is the first year we're offering ranch riding, competitive trail, and Western halter. And then the second year we're offering barrel racing. So this is new. We're trying it this year. As we said at the beginning, we've got a lot of synergy with the two programs. So we'll evaluate and see what we want to do going forward.
Yep, I think, to echo Kristin's sentiment, our willingness and desire to continue doing this is there, and a lot of it just comes down to demand. So prove to us that you guys want this and enter, and we will do our best to keep delivering. Let's see. Just look over here on Facebook. Raina's responding to a few things on Facebook, but we did have the question, if a Thoroughbred Makeover horse and a T.I.P champion horse trailer in together, can they stable together? Yes, we will do our level best. That is why we're routing all of the, consolidating all of the stabling requests through the Retired Racehorse Project. That said, please try to be reasonable, and we say this to our makeover trainers every year as well. Please try to be realistic and reasonable about how many people you need to be stabled with. We kind of joke that we end up with these long strings of like I need to be with Stacy, and Stacy needs to be with Tom and Sue, and Tom and Sue need to be with Allison, and it just ends up, and then you filled a whole barn, and then somebody in that group wants a northern facing stall with a slight southern breeze and like with a full view of full moons. Like it just ends up getting a little out of control. So we do in our stabling form, give you the option of indicating who you would like to be stabled with, and making comments, and we'll do our best to accommodate that. But sometimes we just have to put you someplace with a roof over your head.
So it looks like Wendy had a question about qualifications, and I think so does Sarah Elizabeth in Facebook. So I'll try to answer them both together. Wendy, correct. A horse participating in performance awards in the discipline that you're trying to qualify for is qualified, even if the shows were before August of 2021. And then Sarah Elizabeth, you can show your horse in championships at or above your qualifying test, and above. So if you qualify at training level, you could show training and first, but you couldn't go back down to intro if you hadn't shown intro in the championship year as your qualifying test.
Good question. Okay. Anybody else? All right, well, we can wind it down. That was probably the world's most efficient webinar we've ever done on nitty-gritty stuff like this. So again, if you have any questions, just as and I am keeping an eye out here. Does a makeover horse have to meet any other qualifications, or is being accepted into the makeover good enough? So I think what Jennifer is asking on Facebook is, if a horse is already registered in the Thoroughbred Makeover for this year, are there any additional qualifications? No, Kristin has extended like an automatic eligibility to horses that are registered in this year's makeover or in last year's mega makeover, which would include the 2020 and 2021 competition classes.
And the only caveat I would add to that is that it needs to be the discipline you want to show. So if you're doing hunters and jumpers at the makeover, but you want to do competitive trail at T.I.P champs, you would have to qualify through a hardship request in competitive trail. So it's got to be the same discipline. And that kind of goes over all of the qualifications. You've got to qualify in the discipline you want to show in. So T.I.P championships can't be the first time your horse has ever done competitive trail. That's what we're trying to prevent. Someone has asked what schooling look like. Again, schooling is going to be one of those things we're going to determine a little bit based on the schedule, both the makeover schedule and T.I.P champs schedule, but potentially, or most likely, there will be some schooling on Wednesday night and then some schooling on Thursday morning. What those times will be will depend on, again, the makeover schedule, because we're sharing rings, and then we also will have to be breaking rings down and getting things set back up before schooling will open. So there will be probably evening and then morning schooling opportunities. And there will not be any schooling on competitive trail obstacles, just so everyone knows. We will make a list of the competitive trail obstacles available, so you can be practicing at home, but you will not be able to school on the competitive trail or the ranch trail obstacles prior to competing. So just so everyone is aware that that course will be closed until championships. If you're showing in dressage, again, I would say it will depend on the schedule, but probably you would want to be there by Thursday. Most likely halter is going to be first thing Friday morning, and then we'll start the dressage, competitive trail, and Western divisions after that's over with. But if you want to school for dressage, that will probably be Wednesday evening, and then we'll get started with dressage pretty early on Thursday morning.
And recognizing that there's a likelihood that people will ship in, that T.I.P horses will ship in with makeover horses. Again, depending on what our entry numbers look like, we will do our best to make sure that everybody gets decent access to schooling venues. Obviously we want to give priority to the horses that are competing earlier in the week. And we just want to make sure that, during competition time for the makeover, that we're not clogging the schooling arenas with tip horses that aren't competing until later in the week. But I'm sure Kristin and I will figure out a way to make sure that there's equitable opportunity for everybody. And even so, even if we can't offer a ton of in-arena time in the earlier part of the week, the whole open space of the horse park is very much open and available for people just to hack out, hand graze, so you're not going to show up and be locked in your stall until Wednesday or Thursday afternoon. So we'll figure out a way to make sure everybody has good access.
It looks like we have some more questions on Facebook, so I'm just going to start at the top and go down. Can you show in-hand and riding trail? Yes, you can show in mounted and in-hand trail. That would be your two divisions. Halter is not a division. Halter is totally separate. So you could show in-hand trail, mounted trail, and then also compete in the Western Halter Championships. One thing I will just note about halter, because I know some people on here are probably dressage, halter is going to be judged by a Western judge. So just be prepared that it's a Western halter competition. You're obviously, everyone is welcome to participate. We will not be taking points off for horses that are braided for dressage, but I just want everyone to know it is being judged by a AQHA Western judge. So just so that you all are aware. For Kentucky show, will tip dressage champs be held in the hunter jumper complex or dressage complex? They will be in the hunter jumper complex. If there are no thoroughbred shows near you, how do you qualify? That's, Jennifer, would be for the hardship requests that we talked about. And if you came on late, you might have missed that, but we will consider what we call hardship requests for horses that have not been shown at a show with tip awards during the championship year, but that have been shown during the championship year. And you were not able to attend a show or participate in the performance awards or qualify in a different way. But a horse has to be shown a minimum of 2 shows or 2 barrel races during that time period. And then you've got to fill out a form, submit a statement saying why you could not participate in a show with tip awards, and then attaching your show record. And for the Kentucky show, we need those hardship requests by July 31st. Any shows that are required for barrel racing tip portion? Marie, I'm not 100% sure that I understand your question, but you do have to qualify for the barrel racing championships. You can automatically qualify by participating at a barrel race with tip awards, or you would need to submit that hardship request with your horse's barrel racing record prior to that date. If you participated in the 2021 tip championships barrel racing, that is your qualifying show, but you still need to send in a declaration form for your horse. And we didn't really talk a lot about declaration forms, so maybe I should mention that a little bit too. Once your horse is qualified for championships, you do have to submit a declaration form. That is available on the website now. You can download it and send it in. And we appreciate early sending ins as much as possible. One new thing that is on the declaration form this year is indication if your horse is eligible for any of our special high point awards. That includes the TAA awards and the RRP alumni awards, as well as junior rider and adult amateur awards. So make sure once you've qualified that you get that declaration form in. And again, the sooner the better. We actually have some barrel racers that are the ones who have been sending them in early. So thank you all for that. How do you find a tip qualifying show? That is on the website, tjctip.com. Under Thoroughbred Owners and Riders, there's a link to the calendar of events. Will halter have warhorse in hand? Yes, there will be the halter divisions or halter classes. There's going to be 2 essentially pleasure type, 2 ranch type, a TAA adopted horse, and then a warhorse class for halter. I think I got everybody's questions, hopefully. You're muted if you're.
I mute myself to drink water because I don't want people hearing me talk and then I forget. So this was great informational session. If you need to refer back to this recording, we will post it on our YouTube channel, and it will also be in the video section of the RRP main Facebook page where you're watching this now. And then again, let's see, getting more
yeah, Jennifer, yes, you can only show in 1 in-hand class.
So if you guys have anything else that you need, any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out either via Kristin's website, tjctip.com, and our secretary email, secretary@tbmakeover.org. We will do our best to help you out. And let's see. I think we are all set. Well, thank you, Kristin, for your time this evening.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll talk soon, everybody. Keep tuned. Stay tuned for more details. It'll be here before you know it.
Good night.
Good night.